Webinars are an amazing way to drive sales, get more people aware about your brand, and also just to build trust and authority with people. And yeah, sure, a lot of businesses have been taking advantage of them, but they're still a relatively untapped channel, whether you do them live or pre-recorded. And there's a lot of things that go into a good webinar, from the software you choose to the host and actually the script you write. And that's what I want to talk about in today's video, how to write a really effective webinar script. This will help you flow through a webinar a lot easier, a lot faster. It'll help you engage with people and just deliver a lot better value and ultimately drive more growth from your webinars. And first things first, you do have to come up with an awesome topic idea that people do want to actually tune into. And that's why the first thing I want you to do is go check out what competitors are doing. This is an amazing way to get ideas really, really fast. But at the same time, you don't necessarily want to just take their webinar idea and do that. You want to put your own spin on it and find a unique way to approach it. Put a new spin on it and try to find an angle that hasn't been done before. That way you still get that inspiration, but you're delivering something of value. Imagine we were running a webinar about SEO. If we just gave a quick Google search for SEO webinars, webinars about SEO, we're gonna get tons of ideas, YouTube videos, page links, everything we need. We can go through all these pages and start taking notes and getting ideas. And once again, just put your own spin on it, make it unique, and make it a lot better than what's out there. But honestly, the audience always knows best, and there's honestly no better research and feedback than actually asking the people that are gonna view the webinar what they think of it, what ideas they have, and what they would like to see and learn about. I recommend using something like Jot Forms, Google Forms, Typeforms. There's all these tools out there that you can use to create a questionnaire and essentially just ask questions like what they would like to see in the webinar, what webinars have they looked at in the past and that they enjoyed. And then you can take that questionnaire, send it out on social media, shoot it out to your email list, and get tons of really good feedback, and then use that for ideas. Also related to your audience is who are they and what are they interested in? For example, if you're speaking to CMOs or CFOs, the topics and how you're gonna speak to those people is gonna be a lot different than just the average Joe or maybe a solopreneur. It also changes based on the industry. If you're speaking to people in healthcare, that's gonna be a lot different than how you speak to maybe somebody in digital marketing. Think about the questions they have, the goals they have, what they really care about in their life and in their business, and then shape the webinar around that. And once you actually understand who you're writing for, you have a topic, it's now time to actually write the introduction of the script. And the intro is really important with a webinar and any kind of online presentation because it's essentially your foot in the door and how you're going to hook them in to watch the remaining webinar. Because a lot of webinars are going to be 30 minutes, 60, even some go to 2 hours. So you have to have a really good proposition for them to actually stick around. And now in the intro, what I want you to do is introduce yourself and your credentials and background. You want to use it as an opportunity to build social proof and authority. So talk about the businesses you've worked with. Where did you get your education from? Where have you worked? What are the results you've generated for yourself or clients? I want you to brag as much as possible here and just do everything you can to build that authoritative image and then transition that into what the actual webinar is about. Explain to them what they're going to learn, the pain points you're going to help resolve, and exactly how long it's going to be so they know what kind of commitment they have. It's also really effective if you can provide some kind of incentive for sticking around. Once again, what they learn, taking away those pain points, that's awesome, and that's 80% of it. But you can also give away a lead magnet at the very end. Now, a lead magnet essentially is a free resource. It might be a course, a mini course, a book. It can be a template. It can be a cheat sheet, a checklist. There's tons of things you can give away for free. Just once again, make sure it's relevant to the webinar topic and the audience you're speaking to. Include a call to action in the introduction for them to stick around to get that, so they have that incentive to actually watch all the way through and get it. Now, when you're actually writing the body of the script after the introduction, one thing I want you to do is never write or read word for word. You want your webinar to sound organic and natural, and even if it has to be professional and you're speaking to a professional B2B crowd, let's say, you still want it to come off the top and be organic and sound conversational because people want to communicate and connect with other people. And if you're too kind of stiff and you're reading everything word by word, it can actually just come off a little boring and vague. Something I love doing, even for these YouTube videos, podcasts, webinars, whatever I might do, is essentially I'll make a script per se, but a lot of it is actually just ideas and bullet points. I'm not reading everything word for word. I kind of just let it flow off the top. And this is a pretty interesting thing I learned from the book Psycho-Cybernetics. You essentially have your conscious mind, your subconscious mind. The conscious mind is amazing for being analytical, thinking of things, but when we try to overanalyze what we're saying, that's what our subconscious is actually for, and that's where our ideas and inspiration comes from. And what you have to do is really trust that intuition and that part of you, because that's truly where your expertise comes from. If you write a webinar script and you see it more as a North Star or something to guide you, what ends up happening is as you're reading it and rehearsing it, you'll read a certain key point and then all of those ideas will actually come to you naturally because you already know tons about them and it comes from your subconscious. I also want you to make it personal. Like I said in the introduction, you want to be talking about your background, your expertise, and I also want you to do this all throughout the webinar. Talk about how you're involved in the strategies and the advice you're giving, your experience with it, your background. And also, I want you to take advantage of storytelling because it affects our brain in so many different ways. It releases neurotransmitters. It gets us really engaged in paying attention because a lot of stories are emotional in nature. There's some kind of problem that gets introduced. The person overcomes it, has to go through all this journey. And you can also use customer testimonials and stories as well. It doesn't have to be your own, but if you can mix stories into a webinar script, it's going to make it a lot more engaging and emotionally connecting. And then, of course, you do have to prepare for that Q&A because people will have some questions along the way. I also recommend mentioning either in the intro or in the body of your webinar at some point that you are open to that Q&A session at the end, because after a half hour, 1 hour, whatever it might be, people are going to have some questions. So it's nice to actually answer those. And what you can actually do is think about what people would ask about. Think about their questions, their objections. And if you know your audience, this will actually come quite naturally to you. And you can actually put that in the questionnaire I mentioned if you want to get some really good feedback. Okay, and now for probably the most important part of your webinar script. This is going to be the call to action and the conclusion. So what I like personally doing is summarizing the entire webinar. Go over the major points, the major lessons, major strategies, all the big things that they should take away, and try to make it really practical. If you can mention tools and resources they can use to make that even better, that's awesome. But now the most important part of this is actually the CTA for that lead magnet, or maybe it's a product, a service. This is really where you're going to make your money and drive that growth. You might be sending people to a sales page. It depends on your own goal. Now, I also recommend that you use some kind of webinar software like Webinar Jam or Click Meeting that actually allows you to have call to action buttons sending people to buy something very easily. Webinars are an amazing way to drive traffic, leads, revenue, and growth for your business, but they aren't as easy as just flipping on your webcam and speaking to an audience. It does require some prep and research. And now when it comes to the actual webinar itself, I think one of the most important parts of the whole thing is actually your webinar script. Now, if you want to learn more about webinar script writing, head into the description. I have a full blog post you can check out. You're going to learn more strategies, get more examples. And other than that, let me know in the comments below if you have any other videos you'd like me to make. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel and you want more copywriting and marketing videos on your dashboard. But other than that, hope you're having an awesome day, and I'll see you very soon.